There we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to a little live stream. My name's Chris, and a lot of times on this channel, I will do a weekly live stream where I'm talking about the news of the week and reviews of recent comics and stuff like that. And a lot of times I'm doodling. I've been doodling the last couple of weeks on this Leonardo, and I figured I'd like to just finish it up. And then I was like, well, might as well live stream it just in case anybody felt like seeing it go to completion. So it's going to be a pretty chill talk, to be honest. Just sort of hanging out and drawing. Nothing too fancy here. But hope everybody out there is doing well. And let's see what I can potentially put together here. But I've been having fun drawing this, just trying to draw Leonardo and draw him in a good amount of detail too, you know? Wow, lots of folks jumping in. Hello, everybody. I'll give some shout outs. Hey, it's my sister. Nice to have you folks here. I know it's kind of a weird time to just randomly do a live stream, but just sort of felt like drawing, and thought it would be kind of fun to just have some folks along for the ride. We shall see. Anybody else drawing today or doing anything creative at all? Really, that would, there's lots of creative activities that we can all partake in. Let's say hello, hello, hello. I'm trying to think of any sort of topics that I would have. Oh, I know. I picked up a few comics today. Let's see. What did I get? I got 2 volumes of Vinland Saga. I'm flying through that manga. I really enjoy it. If you've ever been curious about the early 11th century England, Norway, Viking sort of culture, King Canute, people like that, Vinland Saga is a pretty fascinating look at it. I'm really impressed with the amount of research put into the book. And I also picked up a manga that just got brought here based on Superman, though. It's called Superman versus Meshi, and all it is Superman in between adventures quickly flying over to Japan to try new meals. It's adorable. I tried several comic book stores to get the latest issue of Rick Remender's Sacrificers and had absolutely zero luck. Very frustrating. But I'm glad that the comic's doing well. Well, I guess it could also be that my local stores haven't really ordered it well. It's hard to guess. Bonus Chris is the best Chris. Well, if you are a supporter of mine on Patreon, I did do a bit of a bonus episode with more info on 3D comics. So if you're the kind of person that's like, comic tropes is great and I'm not getting enough, every once in a while I'm able to do a little extra for my supporters on Patreon. I sincerely wouldn't be able to do the show without them. So, yeah, shout out to all my supporters on Patreon. Really, sincerely love your support. Yeah, it means a lot to me. What's the next comic book show or movie we're going to get? Let me think. I guess it's probably the Marvels. Is that right? Unless I'm forgetting something. We got a kitty exploring down here. I literally just started a couple minutes ago, so yeah, you're right on time. My buddy created an LLC to self-publish comics. That's cool. He created a fake lady with social media to be his secretary on paperwork. Someone showed up today to give her a court summons. What's your buddy doing? That's interesting. Yes, I did hear about that. Wasn't necessarily expecting that, although it does kind of make sense. I finally got around to trying that raspberry syrup for my coffee you recommended. Oh yeah, Tahani, or is it, or Tarani, sugar-free. Yeah, I am watching Ahsoka. Personally, I'm definitely enjoying it. Although a lot of people say you'll get more out of it if you've watched shows like Clone Wars and Rebels. I haven't watched those shows. I'm still enjoying it. I think it's a pretty cool take on Star Wars material. I mean, I've got a sense of who Ahsoka is and what her backstory is. I just sort of picked it up through general nerd culture. But yeah, I'm enjoying Ahsoka personally. I think that so far my absolute favorite Star Wars on Disney Plus has been Mandalorian, maybe season 2, maybe season 1 actually. Now that I think of it a little more, and then also Andor. Andor was great. That just definitely spoke to me. But yeah, it's all worth watching for the most part. Yeah, my kitties are sort of poking around down here, but they've been fed, so ignore them. Oh, I heard about that. I don't think I ever read that Vertigo comic, but yeah, Bodies is coming out soon. Oh, maybe I should check that out. Clone Wars holds up good, but it's a time investment. That's kind of why I haven't gotten into it. And then I was like, well, isn't Rebels like based on a lot of the same sort of stuff that they set up in there? So should I watch it in order? I don't know. It gets intimidating, and this is from somebody that grew up with the Star Wars movies, and I'm like, God, that's a lot of Star Wars. That's a lot of Star Wars, if you ask me, kid. I'm having fun with the latest comic tropes that I'm working on. It's about an artist that I really admire, whose level of detail is just about insane. I don't think that there's just about anybody else out there that does as much detail as the artist I'm going to talk about next. Oh, and I've been giving some thought to like what kind of content I can do when I leave for Japan in literally less than 2 weeks now. Um, I'm thinking I'll probably do some live streams on comic tropes where maybe I live stream an essay about comics, but don't necessarily edit in all the imagery to make it into a mini documentary. So it would sort of give you the same content. It would be a lighter lift for me. It might not be as visually interesting, but I think that I've still got some like sort of stories that I can tell about comic book history. So that's where I'm leaning. And I'll try to put together some sort of travel vlog stuff as well, visiting local comic shops and talking about stuff like that. I think that could help people, stay engaged with the channel while I'm basically on vacation for quite a while. We'll see. Yeah, definitely more detail than George Perez. I know Bolland refers to Brian Bolland. I don't know what EVS stands for, but yeah, I don't know what that one stands for. Japan is pretty visually interesting. I agree. Let's see. Would I ever consider doing an episode on the 30s era Superman comics? I did one for fun once, like talking about how much he's changed. I've got a pretty wild story where he just goes around destroying every car and car dealership and car manufacturer in Metropolis. That was pretty dumb. That was funny. That was funny. Superman definitely used to be like, when he was created, he was totally in support of the common man. He was definitely like anti big business, and he didn't like have clever solutions. He just went around smashing crap up. It was pretty amazing. You just, yeah, it's pretty funny actually. But I might do something at some point to talk about either Siegel or Schuster, possibly together. They probably each warrant their own episode. Just put it's been covered a lot, so it hasn't been a priority for me. At the same time, they're super important to comics. I do a comic book show. Yeah, I've given some strong thought to covering. I think I'd probably end up covering Joe Shuster first, to be honest. I think I've got some stuff to say about his life and his work. And who knows? Maybe that should be one of my essays, to be honest. Without like throwing him under the bus, the artwork isn't as detailed as the stuff we get today, so it's not necessarily as visually interesting. I think it's iconic in its own right, and I'm really impressed with what he was able to do with essentially the print technology at the time. The newsprint did not allow for fine detail. I could never even draw something like this and have it printed accurately back then. I don't think I'd ever talk about his work. I've seen some of it. It's not bad, but it's also not something I really like. I like, and that's not even getting into who he is as a person. I think it's pretty average. It's just not for me. It doesn't interest me. I have to be excited about something to really engage with it as a topic, and I have to have it's not even that. It's like I have to have a point of view, and hopefully a point of view that hasn't been explained a million times. Like how many years did it take me to get to talking about Bill Finger? How I still haven't really done episodes in really big detail about certain like major creators. Sometimes because they've been talked about a million times. I could do some pretty funny episodes and potentially some pretty interesting episodes about Stan Lee. But what haven't you heard about Stan Lee before? Like what could I add there? That's the trick a lot of times in thinking of an episode, being like, do I have something to say that I don't think has been said a million times by all the other blogs and all the other comic book channels and so on? Or at least am I super passionate about it? It has to be something like that. I definitely know about Funny Man, not a great idea in my opinion. I'm a little surprised like that they could have such an interesting idea as Superman with like a really interesting origin and stuff like that. And then Funny Man is just kind of phoned in my opinion. It's surprising that those same guys would do it. I'm not getting serious so much as like as I've gotten older, my glasses are for distance, and I used to only put them on when I was like driving or going to the movies, right? Then I got older and I just started wearing them almost all the time, even though they were for just distance. Well, now I'm at the point where if I'm looking at something up close, like this inking is not very far from me, it literally puts strain on my eyes to have my long distance glasses on. So it's just it's not as easy to ink with them on. I'm growing younger by the day. Well, thank you very much for the kind words. Not so sure about that. A retrospective on high and lows. There are a bunch of comic strips that I would love to talk about and have considered. And sometimes the trick there is there's so much material to scan or download and like use as the visuals, that it's very intimidating. I would love to do an episode about E.C. Seeger and like how Popeye came to be a character in his comic strip, and just talk about how important Popeye is, how he's kind of an early version of a superhero, but also what Thimble Theater was. That was the comic strip he came from. There's a lot to talk about there, but there's so many years of comics. It's like, how do I like narrow that down and talk about just one era so that I'm not just searching for images through decades upon decades of comics. And to a lesser degree, I really would love to do an episode about Calvin and Hobbes. And I'm sure that a lot of people have done those episodes. It wouldn't be the most original thing, but I really, really love these things. There are some comic strips that I think count as comic book history, and it's just really intimidating to think of gathering all those images. That's the big part that is just like, oh my God, what an undertaking that's going to be when I finally do it. So sometimes there's episodes I really want to do, but I've just put off because I just know that they're going to be so hard. It's not a good reason not to do it, though. It's not really. I'll do them. I'll definitely do them. I could sort of chop it up by decade. Sometimes when you're doing like an essay about the impact and the history, it really crosses decades really quickly, because you need to talk about an evolution or an important thing that happened either with the fictional characters or with the creator. So it can be really hard to limit it. Mighty Mouse? I haven't necessarily considered Mighty Mouse, but there are also comic strips that I'd love to cover, especially for Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse actually at one point had a real attitude and sense of humor and adventure. I really like the Floyd Gottfredson Mickey Mouse era of the comic strip. It's cool. I really would love to talk about that. I'd love to talk about comic strips like The Phantom, but that is, I mean, talk about just decades upon decades of material to sort through. The Phantom outdates or predates even like Superman, I think, off the top of my head. Think of how much material that is to go through, and it's been turned into versions in other countries. Just really, really intimidating to think of how to gather all of those images so that you can make a coherent episode. I want to do these things. They're just so intimidating sometimes. But that's probably why not too many people have tackled those topics. Like, I'm sure that there aren't tons of videos out there about Floyd Gottfredson's Mickey Mouse or The Phantom. There might be some, but there's a lot. Happy birthday, Daniel. Nice to hear. That's awesome. Yeah, would love to talk about those. Let's see. Can you expand on how you alter your pencil illustration when you ink your work? Do you have a style different from pencils? No, I don't think I draw enough material or draw fast enough to really distinguish any style between my pencils and my inks, other than to say that when I'm definitely planning on doing inks, it just means that I'm doing a little less pencil work, but they're still usually pretty tight. Yeah, there's not a lot of shortcuts with my pencil work, to be honest. Maybe if I was a professional that could do things fast, that would be a thing, but for now, it's not. Wow, didn't expect a super chat. I hope you're doing well. Thank you, Brady. Who are some of your favorite inkers? Okay, I'm a big fan of Jonathan Glapion and Tim Townsend. That's a fun question to think about. I definitely think of Klaus Janson when I first think of inking. And some of that is just because of the era where I started reading comics. He was working on a lot that were notable. I really like the work of Scott Williams and Dan Green. I kind of like guys that like can do like not so really nice fine hatching. It just appeals to me. I'm trying to think. A lot of the guys I'm thinking of are typically pencilers themselves. Oh, you know who's like one that is a good penciler but almost always did inks was Tom Palmer. Yeah, he could really make Gene Colan's work pop in a really great way. It was organic and moody. Tom Palmer was somebody I really respect. Yeah. Yeah, it's nice when you can sort of like recognize an inker, but they don't overwhelm the artist. And that's a fine line. That's a fine line. I think that as technology has improved for both printing and scanning and working digitally, a lot more artists ink their own work now, or don't even need to ink their work if they're working sort of like digitally, or don't like necessarily feel obligated to stay on a monthly grind. So it's not a lost art, but it definitely, like, I would say that the last time inkers had their heyday was sort of like the 80s going into the 90s, and then it stopped becoming as important as it used to be. Inking was really important from like, late 40s into the early 90s, and then it stopped being as important. Yeah. I'd like to learn inking better. Inking's great. Inking's awesome. A lot of people have fun looking at an artist that's really recognizable, like, say, Jack Kirby, and then comparing his different inkers. A lot of people are like, oh, I love Chick Stone. Other people are like, I like Mike Royer, because they'll interpret his pencils very differently. Joe Sinnott. I don't know. There's lots of different ways to interpret his line work. It's still recognizably Kirby, but there's some really interesting different takes on it. I know a guy named Chris who did a great video on one of Kirby's inkers. Yeah, I talked about Vince Colletta, and look, there are worse inkers than Vince Colletta. The thing that bothered me the most about Colletta, but it was accepted at the time, was just like how he would erase a lot of Kirby's pencils just to hit the deadline. And it was really important to hit the deadline. I get it. But I feel like we lost a lot of information. There are lots of pages of Kirby's that were never like photocopied or anything. And now we'll never get to see that stuff that got erased before it got inked. And that just would have been nice. I definitely prefer just doodling with a pencil. I definitely do. But I'm awful at being able to sort of just draw and focus and like do a good drawing and talk and think and interact with people. So typically on these live streams, that's why I more do inking, is because I can sort of turn off a certain part of my brain and just sort of focus on more of a just purely technical thing, and I don't have to be quite as, I don't want to say creative, because this is definitely creative, but it doesn't flex a certain part of my brain as much, as all I can say. Yeah. But overall, I personally do still enjoy penciling a little bit more. But I like to also just sort of experiment with almost everything in comics. I've done coloring, I've done lettering, I've done editing and printing, and I try to do like just every part of it because it all sincerely interests me. And yeah, I want to understand and respect each element of it so that I can understand the work that goes into it, because I just like comics. So it all interests me. I would love to, be able to do 100% of a comic like myself. I just like the people that can do that. I find that exciting, that like you're getting such a clean vision from just one person. No real filters in place or edits or anything. That's cool to me. When Don't get me wrong, I love collaboration too. Collaboration is fun. Collaboration can bring out great new ideas. I'm just saying it's also interesting to see comics where somebody's done everything themselves, 100% of it. It's really cool. No, you're not missing a second scabbard. I literally forgot to draw it, and now it's inked. So we'll just assume that like Leo's been in battle and it got knocked off. There's a second like I could draw a second scabbard here on the ground for it to make a logical sense. That's the difference between doing a sketch and like thinking through an actual page and like paying attention to that kind of detail. That stuff drives me nuts in a comic book, and I hate like calling people out, but when I look at like a Rob Liefeld comic or something, he'll draw Deadpool, and sometimes he's got two scabbards, or like Shatterstar or something. Sometimes he's got one, sometimes he's got none, and it like changes panel to panel, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is on the same page. I don't know yet, Daniel. Let me double check on the actual days that I'm in Tokyo, because I'm also going to a few other places. I can figure that out like tonight or tomorrow and reach out to you. Yeah, I'd love to say hello. Which iteration of Baxter Stockman do you think got the worst fate? Well, I don't know actually. No, because you say that, and I don't know that I know the fate of him in the modern comics. I'm not up to date on those by several years. I don't know the fate of him from the 2003 cartoon. I don't know. Yes, it'll be fixed in the collected edition. Yep. I made a mistake. And everybody sees it now. It's all you can see. There's not a second scabbard. Whoa. Did my light just... Oh, hold on. Light isn't plugged in. Give me a sec here. I think that this is something I can fix. There we go. Kind of like that lighting scheme. Is that pretty much where I had it? It's decent. That's decent. He's a brain in a jar. Oh, I don't think Darrow is cluttered at all. I think he's a genius. I think he sees things in a very unique way, but very clear. I love it. The 2003 one, I guess Baxter Stockman got mutilated by the shredder every time he failed. That's pretty bad. Yeah. Okay. Yes, very intentional to have purple and green lights in honor of Paste Pop Pete. Very intentional. Absolutely what I was going for. What comics did you all pick up this week? Anything interesting? I haven't read all of my comics yet. Even the stuff that I've picked up, I haven't read it yet. So a little behind there, but that's okay. I'm allowed to be behind here and there. No, I didn't read either of those. I have to admit, you can't be a fan of everybody. I don't generally care for Jeff Johns' writing. I've liked a little bit of his initial JSA stuff, but everything else leaves me very cold. I hope you like it, Nathan. I think it's a pretty awesome run on Conan. Hope you like it. What's going on with Strange lately? That's very cool. I hope you got a good deal. You know who I admire in terms of inking are some people that like do the inks themselves and are just very brave. Mike Mignola, Daniel Warren Johnson. These guys are really not afraid to throw down some pretty thick lines. They don't need lots of little details all the time. And I wish I was that brave with my inks. I feel like sometimes I honestly use the shadows to cover up an area where I'm not 100% sure what kind of level of detail I should be giving it. I don't know. But yeah, those are two guys that I really admire. I think they do some gorgeous, gorgeous work. I recently picked up Vinland #7. Yeah, you picked that up for me. And I'm already on #10. I'm reading it fast. I'm reading Vinland Saga very, very fast. I'm almost up to date. It's just so good. So good. Doctor Strange is dealing with an alternate version of himself that fought in a war for 1,000 years. That's enough to break someone. I got no one in the new Thor based on your reviews. Yeah, good luck. I hope it goes well. I think both are pretty strong. I've been on a Frank Miller kick lately. It's been interesting how his inking evolved over the years. Yeah. My sweet spot for Frank is definitely his 80s work. Stayed with him and stayed a fan through stuff like 300 and a lot of Sin City. A lot of stuff that he was writing, like Martha Washington Goes to War, Big Guy, and Rusty the Robot. But for his artwork, I really love his 80s work. I really do. That's the sweet spot for me. Oh, anybody else going to New York Comic Con this year? I'm planning. Still haven't found a hotel, to be honest, but I am planning on going on Saturday. Curious if anybody else out there is going this year. I like that convention. It's huge and over the top, and I always have a good time. If you ever see me, please say hello, because you know what I look like. There's a chance I really don't know what you look like. Yeah, if I'm talking to someone, sometimes you just have to jump in and interrupt. And I don't think I'm the kind of guy that would get irritated by that. I'll speak up if I'm like, I'm sorry, I have to wrap something up. Hold on, just saying. Yeah, well, they didn't invite him, is what they did, and that's just crazy to me. It's just crazy to me. I think Larry Hama he may be older, but he's if anything raised his profile in the last couple of years. I mean, he won an Eisner last year. He is doing a G.I. Joe run through Kirkman's Skybound. There's so much hype behind it. He's done some Wolverine in the last year. It's crazy to me that New York Comic Con doesn't think that this is the year that like he's big enough. I love Larry Hama so much. Crazy. And he's like, you know what? I'm not going to go to a convention at this point if I'm not invited. And why would you? Like, yeah, you need to get your name out there if you're like in your 20s and trying to break in. You might want to rent a like table in Artist Alley, but I don't think you need to do that at his age. And there's other conventions that will invite him, so they're crazy. Just my 2 cents. Any thoughts on comic strips Henry and Bonnie and Boo Boo? Were they popular and culturally important in the US? I'll be honest. I feel like even if I don't read comic strips, I generally hear about them. I don't know either of those. Anurag, I don't know those comic strips. I'm really sorry. If I'm an indication, maybe they're not popular or culturally important here, but it could just be a blind spot. If anybody else does know those and are in the chat, like, please throw in your 2 cents. Huh. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. If you don't have a Funko Pop made on you, you're not big enough. That's the truth. Larry has never been one to what am I even trying to say? I'm a little tired. He's not going to like beg for the attention or the respect. And but he's a great creator. I really, really like Larry Hama. And I think it's a mistake on New York Comic Con's part to not invite somebody like that, especially since he's also basically local. Like, you probably wouldn't have to put him up or anything. He's got a Manhattan place. I mean, come on. How old is he? I mean, he served in country in Vietnam, so he's not young. I don't want to overestimate his age. I think young, early 70s. I don't know. I love Larry, though. I love Larry. Well, thanks for jumping in. Appreciate it. I'm doing good. There is a lot of interest in celebrities, voice actors and actors and stuff. And I understand, there needs to be a mix. Some of them can be a draw. I think that, the reason to have a comic convention is because we read comics. But the biggest conventions are generally also, a pop culture convention. I understand that. I'm not against that for every convention. I do tend to get, I generally have a better time at ones that are very comics focused because that's why I'm there. I don't care too much about going to panels and stuff personally. The news can be interesting, but I just feel like I'll just read it. I don't need to sit near Mark Ruffalo. It doesn't mean much to me. Yeah, just a little impromptu stream. 74. Okay. Yeah, early 70s. That's nice of you. Yeah, hopefully I can finish this guy tonight. I think I've got a chance at it. I think I can do it. Turtles running around all barefoot. Their skin better be pretty tough. I know it was in those live action Michael Bay movies. They were literally bulletproof, and they were all the size of like the Incredible Hulk. They didn't really strike me as teenagers or ninjas in that. They were mutant turtles, yes, but they I think that they overlooked the teenager and the ninja part. I really did like Mutant Mayhem, the new animated one. I want to see that again. I laughed at that a bunch, and it gave me a slightly new take on things. And I think they did a good job finally emphasizing the teenager part. There's been a few others that have done a good job emphasizing the teenager part. I think that the both of the Nickelodeon cartoons did a good job emphasizing the teenage part. But yeah, I'd love to see Mutant Mayhem again. I got a real kick out of that. I'm pretty sure there was a scene in the first one where Raphael literally gets shot on the chest and they bounce off. I'm pretty sure. Oh, just popping my neck. It's a little stiff. Have I seen the character posters for Marvel's Spider-Man 2? Oh, the video game? I think I saw the lizard. I think I came across that on social media. Looked cool. I'm gonna get that game. I like the Spider-Man games. Yeah, I'll definitely be getting them. Yeah. Honestly, there's a great chance that's the next game I'll play, which I don't think is coming out like imminently, but this year. I don't have a lot of time to play video games, unfortunately, because I do enjoy it, but I don't have a lot of time for it. It's definitely something I've had to cut out of my life so that I can both produce my show and still have, a part-time job so that I can earn an income and make the show. I like making my show. It's a lot of fun to talk about comics. I'd probably make a heck of a lot more money if I did a show talking about Call of Duty or something. But this is what I'm passionate about. This is what I love. And it's really interesting hearing takes from people that also like comics like yourselves. I can't quit my job. I need to make a living and pay my mortgage and stuff, pay for my car. I'm hoping to attend Baltimore Comic-Con next year. Okay, because I heard it is comic artist focused. It's pretty comic book focused. Absolutely. It's a good one. No actors, no 18 fans. Love the work you do. Thank you for the super chat and the kind words. I lived in Alexandria, Virginia, just outside of DC for 10 years, and I would go to Baltimore Comic-Con every year. It is a good convention. It's pretty big, but still comic book focused. They'd always get a lot of really nice names to attend there. So yeah, I have a lot of good things to say for that one. What else? There's also in that area, and it's the same weekend this year, unfortunately, SPX, the Small Press Expo. Love that convention. So many cool things that I discovered there. Yeah, just a fantastic convention. Lot of passion. You'll find a lot of cool things. I got to meet Brian Lee O'Malley when Scott Pilgrim was coming out, Harvey Picard when he was doing various American Splendor books. Talked to John, congressman that wrote March. I'm so bad at names, but anyway, just met some really amazing people there. Found some hilarious books, found some really serious, like biography type books. Just so many interesting comics at SPX. Let's see. What's my favorite Mirage Turtles comic? Soul's Winter? Mine is that and Back to New York. Well, probably the first issue by Eastman and Laird, honestly. Yeah, the Harveys, I believe, are at Baltimore Comic Con now. Oh, wait a minute. Actually, maybe the Harveys aren't. I think the Harveys used to be there, and I'm pretty sure that they're now at the New York Comic Con. I could be wrong, but I think the Harveys went from Baltimore to New York, and Baltimore has something else. It's hard to remember. I'd have to Google it. I lost my train of thought. Somebody asked me a good question. Oh, right. Tit Goblin asked me what my favorite Mirage era was, and for the Turtles, like issue 1, and then yeah, Return to New York is really good. Return to New York is good. It's hard. There weren't that many comics by Eastman and Laird, all things considered, and those are the ones that I really, really love. Your local con had a table with a hot tub dealer. Wow, they definitely wanted to fill those tables. Got it. Wow. Yeah, that sounds right. I think that Baltimore now has the Ringo Awards. I'm pretty sure that is right, Michael. But they used to do the Harveys and New York Comic Con basically did a deal with the organizer. Like usually the people that have awards are not the same people that run the convention. They have agreements to like present awards at a convention and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure that is it. That the Harveys went to New York Comic Con, so Baltimore picked up the Ringo Awards. They're all great awards. Oh, and by the way, as long as we're talking about awards, Comic Tropes, my other channel, is up for 2 comic book community awards. So if you went to cbcawards.org, you'd be allowed to vote on that between now and I want to say November 18th. It's a really long time period, I believe, that they have that open. So would certainly appreciate your vote if you enjoy Comic Tropes. I know that this is the other channel and all, but yeah, maybe you watch that one. Maybe you'd like to throw me a bone. Or maybe you already have, in which case, thank you. Thank you. What should I eat tonight? Has to be kind of healthy. I'm trying to completely avoid sugar and as many carbs as possible. So I'm a little nervous about how well I'm going to do with my particular diet in Japan, but I've been studying as much Japanese as I can, and hopefully I can figure it out. Pointing out like what I want and explaining my dietary needs. Yeah, can't do pizza, folks. Can't do pizza. Everybody wants me to have pizza. No, can't do pizza. I get it. I'm drawing Ninja Turtles. Well, sometimes I can do a cauliflower crust pizza. It's just that they tend to be kind of expensive, so that's like a real treat for me if I do that. Yeah, too much bread with the pizza and usually sugar with the sauce, so can't do that, unfortunately. Miss it, but trying to make healthy choices. Yeah, haven't been able to do that for a long time now. Just eat the toppings. Yum. I guess so. There's there's a place in um Shibuya where it's affordable because they do buffet style pizza. Shakey's, it's a chain. Not special, but it's good. A tactical MRE. Yeah, I'll eat a tactical MRE tonight. As long as I'm at it, I'll just sign up. I'm sure that sure, I'm well past whatever cutoff age they have for somebody uh, enlisting, but I'll enlist tonight and get an MRE. I think that's a great idea. Shibuya roll call. It's odd not having Jim Mahfood in the stream. I love it when we are lucky enough to get certain pros that have popped in, like Jim or Andy Kuhn, EJ Sue. It's a real treat to like be able to have the opinions or feedback of people that are pros. It's a real treat. I do not take that lightly. I love having everybody here. It's just nice to have that point of view. I'm trying to think if I'm missing something in this guy. I don't know. I'm going to switch to a finer pen for any additional detail. Let me just see what I have here. Yeah, I'm just going to peck away at like small detail. I think I've got a bunch of this figured out. Oh, I see. So, like sometimes just by looking at it on the screen, I can sort of see what I've missed though. So I've got a brush pen here somewhere. Hold on. Yes, a cut of beans. Cutoff is 42. Well, surprise, I'm older than 42. Let's see. If this was in shadow, then this should probably be in shadow like that. Let me think this through. Probably need a little more dark there. And what else? If the light's coming down like this, unfortunately, like I gotta darken that up. I'm looking at the picture on the screen to sort of give myself a little bit of objectivity looking at the art. Because when I'm looking at it up close like this, it's not always easy to decide what to do. I think I'll just go ahead and black a bunch of this out, actually. No highlight there. Yeah, I think that looks better. That's nice of you. I would say that the light source is almost directly overhead and somehow just sort of like diffused a little. So like if I drew a shadow under him, bear with me, I'm just focusing a little. Let's see. Would the bottom of the right hand be in shadow? Possibly. Let me think it through. Have you ever thought about making a video about all the different Batmobile designs? Not really, but maybe. Could be fun. No, I don't think we've ever quite collaborated like that. The one fun thing that Chrissy and I did was on a plane ride. I described to her Batman villains. She didn't know them, and she would come up with her interpretation based on what I was telling her of, Poison Ivy and Killer Croc. And I think we had so much fun that on the flight back home, we did Spider-Man villains. I definitely enjoyed that. That was a little bit of a collaboration, and we've worked on art in the same area together, like physical space, but like collaboration wise, no. Maybe someday. Wow, thank you very much. Shadow Kick for the win. Wow, very, very kind of you. I sincerely appreciate it. Thank you. Do I have a favorite whiteout? I have a whiteout pen somewhere, and I just realized I don't know where I put it. But thank you again, Shadow Kick. That's really nice. I've painted some caricatures. Oh, that's true. That's true. Once I did draw a caricature of my dad, and then Chrissy turned it into a painting. I totally forgot. That's so true. Oh, hi. Caught you doodling. Here's $2. Thanks, Steve. That's so kind of you. That's so nice of you. Hey, I'll be grateful at anything. I am never going to ask for more. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Just related your old video on distribution history. Still my favorite. I remember having a good time making that one. Enjoying focusing on the research. I don't really remember it too well now, but I remember enjoying making it. I hope it holds up. It might be dated now. I don't know. I try to make stuff that would be, for the most part, evergreen on the main channel. I try. Wow, thank you. Just voted for you on the CBC Awards. That's so nice of you. I'm curious if you've heard of the Kickstarter for the comic Solitary. It looks good and pretty sexy too. I have not, and I get contacted by a lot of Kickstarters. They all want me to interview them on comic tropes, and I get it. Looks like it would be a no-brainer, and I don't know what to tell people. I did it once or twice for people, and it just never really got much in the way of views, and I just don't think it helps either of us as much as they think it will. But I do get contacted a lot by people that are like, I'm launching a Kickstarter. You know, it's like and I respect the hustle, by the way. So I'm never offended if like an artist or a writer is reaching out and is like, hey, like this is what I'm doing, and I'm like, cool, fine. It's like a press release. What's a little more annoying, I will say, is like when they have somebody that's like an actual marketing or PR person go and they're like, we're willing to let you interview so and so to promote their incredible book, blah 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, you'll let me? Gee, thanks. Thanks. How much to do a super chat to make you dance? I do like dancing, to be honest, but a lot, too much where I'd feel like guilty taking it. I don't want to turn into a dancing monkey. But if somebody, like, everybody's got their limit, right? So yeah, if there were super chats that added up to $10,000, probably do it for a few seconds, just to be clear. That's all you'd get. Have you guys discovered any cool new hip bands lately? I am not plugged into what's hip and cool, but I'm curious. Yeah, I'm not that kind of streamer. One of fave moments was you eating the 30-year-old gum. That's because I had no idea it would be so gross. That's because, like, I was like, oh yeah, I'll eat the really old gum in the package of cards, and I had no idea how disgusting that would be. It was really, really, really bad. It tasted like cardboard, but also there was like something that tasted like old socks or something. Like there was just like this disgusting sort of like feeling to it. Oh, it was terrible, terrible, terrible. Yes, a lot of people did warn me. A lot of people did warn me. Hopefully it was a little funny. Right now, all I'm doing is adding lots of extra little detail to trick your eye into thinking this looks better than it does. So that's the big secret, folks, is if you load your art up with detail, it tricks the eye into finding the correct form hidden under all the notes of detail. Is there a RoboCop video game coming out? Because I like that channel, The Weekly Planet, and they reviewed all the RoboCop movies, and I thought that they said something about they were doing it because there's a RoboCop game coming out, and I hadn't heard anything about that. Does that sound right to anybody, or did I mishear? And is it based on the first movie or something else? Oh, listen to King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. Okay, I can probably remember that. There is. I'm not going to SPX. I'm sorry if I gave that impression. I wish I was, but it's on the other side of the country and it starts tomorrow. So, yeah. Oh, there is. Okay, thank you for confirming, everyone. No, that's nice. Hold on. It's by the team that made a really bad Terminator game. I didn't even know there was a Terminator game. That's probably not a good sign. There is. Hey, Terry. Feels like it could have the potential to be good, doesn't it? Like, it's yeah. That's a world I wouldn't mind seeing explored more of. Oh yeah, I like how thin these lines are. This looks good to me. Can sort of feather some of this stuff to make it look a little better, I think. Oh, somebody really likes King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. Ooh, that's good. There's a ton of Terminator games? Are there really? Oh my god. I love Terminator 1 and 2 and the Sarah Connor Chronicles, and I had no idea. I guess I'm just not a gamer enough. I thought I liked the game. Looks good to you. I want to buy a print of this and frame it. That's very kind of you. That's very kind of you. Good. That's great. Drawing is fun, right? Yeah. That show, what is it again? Yeah, The Weekly Planet. They're Australian. They're pretty funny, and I think that they're pretty even-handed with their reviews. But they're nice. And you know what? I will say they've actually been kind to me. They've mentioned my show once or twice, and that really has helped me get new viewers and stuff like that. So that's very kind of them. I like those guys, though. I like what they do. It's fun to do a show with friends. I've done podcasts with friends, and it's been some of the most fun I've ever had. I wish I had a local friend that was super into comics, like so that I could sort of do, something more casual sometimes of just hanging out and talking about comics for a live stream, but like with somebody to bounce off. I feel like I'm a much funnier person when I've got somebody to play off of, and I like being that version of myself. But it's just not something where I've got some friends, and some of them like comics, but I don't have anybody that loves comics and loves being on camera as well, now that I think of it. So yeah. Yeah, I think Last Ronin's a pretty interesting take on Ninja Turtles mythology. Rodney! Do you live by comictum? Do I live by comictum? I guess the answer is no, because I don't think I understand the question. Serious question. Pants on turtles, yeah or nay? Nah, I don't think it looks right. But you know what? I guess it's like this. I don't think they need it like when they go out and about, but I don't mind if they're like hanging out at home in their like lair and they have sweatpants on or something. Yeah. That's really nice to hear, Michael. That's so nice to hear. I love it when people do creative things. I love it. I'm always inspired in turn by people that are working on creative projects. I think that it's healthy for your mind to work on just creative projects. And it doesn't have to be drawing. It can be drawing and painting, but there can be other things too, like cooking. If you consider organizing like an art, that's what I mean. There's lots of different things. Robotron doesn't love comics? I missed something, right? I don't know who Robotron is. I'm also behind on the current run of TMNT by quite a bit, but I enjoyed the first couple of years that I read. Yeah. Oh, Peter Weller's doing the voice of the, I assume, RoboCop game. That's kind of cool. Ooh, hold on. Oh, this is a terrible eraser. Oh, darn it. I was going to clean up some of the pencil lines under here. But, oh yeah, no, this eraser is just going to smudge stuff. I definitely can only work with a kneaded eraser. Do I have a kneaded eraser here? I don't seem to have it. Darn it. Darn it, darn it. That's so disappointing. Huh. Well, I'm sure I've got one somewhere that I'll just have to use in the future. Darn, I was going to try to clean this up a little before I just sort of wish it well and send it out into the world as is. Oopsie daisies. Uh-oh, spaghetti-o. What's your all-time favorite stand-up comedy bit? Does not have to be your favorite stand-up comedian, but just your favorite bit. Because you know what one comes back to me a bunch? Tig Notaro telling the story of Taylor Dane. And if you know what I'm talking about, I bet you love it. If you don't, you're welcome. Just look up Tig Notaro, Taylor Dane on YouTube. Just a great, great, funny story. I know you do. I know. Chrissy gets me a lot of art supplies because she's kind. Yes, it's a kneaded eraser. Oh, Norm Macdonald has so many bits that I love. So many. You love the who's on first. I can understand that. There's just so many good, like, just comic bits that aren't necessarily even your favorite stand-up comic, but you like love their story. Sebastian Maniscalco's bit about having company over. Okay. Don't know that one. I saw her do that bit at UCB in LA. That must have been nice. That must have been a good time, Eric, getting to see that in person. I really like Tig. I get not necessarily my favorite stand-up comedian, although I like her a lot, but like that bit, the Taylor Dane bit, I just love it. I don't know. Norm Macdonald telling the frog going into the bank story. I love how Norm would just tell really bad jokes on Conan, especially. Pete Holmes, Pierce. I don't know the Pierce bit. I'll look it up. Mitch Hedberg in general. Okay. Well, I was asking about a specific bit. Doesn't have to be your favorite comedian, just like your favorite bit. Love Norm's moth joke. Kevin Smith had a good story about Prince. Mm-hmm. Nice. Love Norm. Oh, I already said that. What did I miss? What's your opinion? Should all of Spidey's classic red and blue suits have web wings? Maybe not, but I do like the web wings. Norm Macdonald has a pretty damn good Fantastic Four bit. That is true. You are like a rocky orange thing, so you will be called the Thing. You can light up on fire, so you are the Human Torch. You are able to turn invisible, and you're a woman, so you are the Invisible Woman. Whereas I can stretch really far, so I'm Mr. Fantastic. Oh, it's so good. I don't think I know that, but I did see Tim Heidecker like play this character once that was just trying to be cool. I saw it like live. He was just trying to be a cool stand-up comedian. That made us all laugh a lot. I probably could do a better version of Norm if I practiced a little. I'm Mr. Fantastic. Now, wait a minute. I don't see the problem. It really is funny when you think about it, that he just named himself Mr. Fantastic, but also that's like what came to Stan Lee, you know, like Human Torch, Invisible Girl, Thing, Mr. Fantastic. It's God, I miss Norm. I really do. Oh yeah. That's Andy Daly. Andy Daly, who's mostly good at like doing lots of improv and stuff. But yeah, I know you like that thing where he's just like, whoa. It's like, what's going on here? Like, we've got some of these people over here like, hey, and then we've got all these other people over here going like, and I'm like, what? And I know that sounds like nothing, and that's the whole bit. He goes on for like 5 minutes just going like, hey, I didn't agree to this. It's like, what's going on here? And then we've got all these people over here going like, hey. Andy Daly, Chrissy, that's who you're thinking of. He's good. He's really good. But he's really, really good with the characters that he's done on Comedy Bang Bang. I don't even know which one would be my favorite. He's got so many good ones. And just mentioning Tig Notaro, now all of a sudden I've got Taylor Dane in my head. Love will lead you back to my heart. What? Doug Stanhope's story about his mother's death is hilarious. Really? I don't know that one. Huh. I Think You Should Leave. Love it. It's fantastic. Yeah. Well, guys, I think I'm going to wrap it up. It's getting a little late here, and I haven't eaten yet. So, yeah, I think that this is basically done. It feels like the shadow underneath is a little uneven when I look at it up here. So I guess I just sort of need to sort of do this a little bit. I don't know. Something closer to that, maybe. And that'll basically do it. Yeah. Yeah, I think that'll do it, Rooney. Tonight I dine on turtle soup. It's been a shell of a night, dude. Thank you for being here, everybody. 55 burgers, 55 fries, 55 pies, 55 taters. That's a really good bit. All right. Thank you, everybody. I had a great time talking with all of you. I will see you on this channel Monday. And in the meantime, working really hard to get Comic Tropes up. I hope I can get it up this weekend. Can't promise. We'll see how things go tomorrow. But yeah, take care, everyone. Bye. Keep reading comics.